Welcome to another episode of Straight Talk No BS. It's your girl Chris
and Landria,
and today we're going to talk about interracial dating. So Len had sent me this video of this couple having an argument, and while all seems normal because couples argue regularly, it's a normal thing, right? She mentioned some weird comment which I thought you would never say to your partner, even if you are of the same race, or but especially of the opposite race, you don't even say stuff like that, for sure. Len, do you have the audio you want to play for them, or should we just play at the end?
Yeah, I do have the audio. Let me play it. 1 moment. Okay, I have it right here. I'm gonna play. Do we play part 1 and part 2, or just part 1? Well, you know what? I would say let's play part 1 and part 2 so that our listeners can hear it. Okay, so here it goes. This is going to be part 1.
Okay.
So, oh my daughter, you can be drunk here all you want to. Okay, I'm gonna be real drunk here when my people beat your ass. I'm fine with that. I'm fine with that. Police come beat your ass, or my people gonna beat your ass. Okay. Because I'll call the police too. I know you'll call the police. That's what you want me to do. No, that's what you always wanted to do. That's why I don't need to be with you. That's what you want me to do. Okay. No, I don't want you to do that. Call my people. You told me to call my dad. Yeah, you told me to call all these people. Yeah, go ahead. I said go ahead and get your money so I can go. That's what you told me to do. I said all you gotta do is get your money so I can go. You told me to do. Okay, whatever. You want me to do what you told me to do? All right, whatever. You don't want to record when you beating people's ass too, but you want to. Bro, you just hit me right here. Man, come on, man. You ripped my fucking dreads out, and I still got them dreads. I ripped your dreads out? Well, no, I got my.
Okay, so that was part 1, and this is part 2. And this part 2, here we go.
Just go out the door. Y'all see this on camera? I'm trying to leave out the door, get away from the situation, and make things better for me, but I can't seem to go. So when the police get here, you will see, because I'm gonna have to remove her from me physically. Trying to be polite and just walk out and have a great day, but she won't get off me. Can you please get off me? I'm asking her twice. I'm asking you to sit down. Can you please get off of me? Okay, I'm asking you to sit down. Can you please get off of me? Gary, please don't put your hands. I'm begging you, please sit down, Gary. Please don't leave me. Please. You see this, right? Gary, you see this? I'm trying to go. Please. I'm trying to go. Look at me. I don't want to be with you. I will give you whatever. I don't want nothing from you. I want to get away from you. I want my freedom from you.
Okay, wow. So yeah. So what I played just now was a part 1 and part 2 of an argument that was going on amongst a couple, an interracial couple, Caucasian young lady and African-American young man. And it was the boyfriend, the African young man, he had recorded the argument to protect himself. And in part 1, you can hear the young lady saying she's going to call her people. She's going to call the police. She's going to call her father. She's going to get him beat up. She's going to do everything possible to this young man, this African-American young man. And from the video, it shows that apparently they must have had an argument and he wants to leave. He's trying to leave the residence. He's trying to avoid any further conflict, any further communication, and she's preventing him from leaving. So in part 1, you can hear her clearly the aggressor. And she, like I said just now, she's telling him he's not going anywhere. He's not leaving. He's not doing anything. She doesn't give a F. He even mentioned how she ripped his dreads out of his head. She's making a statement when, what day, tonight, you hear all of this. And in part 2, he's still trying to leave. At some point, you can clearly see that he's trying to leave the residence, and she is got her arms around his waist. She's holding him tight. She's refusing to let him leave the house. She's refusing to let him pack any of his clothes. She's begging him not to leave. She's crying. He's recording because he's trying not to push her off of him because he doesn't want any allegations. He don't want her to say anything where he might have manhandled her. So he's recording everything to protect himself because she's already threatening to call the police in the first video, threatening to call the police in the second video. So he's clearly recording just to protect himself. And in the second recording, you can hear her say, as she is holding him, she's holding him now. You can clearly hear her say, Gary, don't put your hands on me. But he is not putting his hands on her. He has the phone up in the air where he's recording her. You clearly see her holding him around his waist. He's trying to wiggle away from her. She is pulling him tight. She's refusing to unlock her hands from him. And she's
Yeah, but
crying and everything.
I think he said that he's gonna have to force her off of him. So that's probably what she was talking about as far as like keep your hands off of me.
Right.
Was
But
because
he's
he had to
correct.
force her.
But he
Off.
doesn't want to touch her until the police come. So he's standing there while she would not let him go.
Mm-hmm.
And he's saying he's waiting for the police to come so the police can be there while he tries to free himself from her out of fear of what may or may not happen in this time, in this day and age. We don't know what's going to happen.
That's what you heard? I didn't hear that. I didn't hear him say
Yeah. Yeah, I could play it again. He said how he's waiting for the police to come because he
yeah,
has to
I
get.
know he's waiting for peace to come, but I didn't know he
Yeah,
was waiting for him to free her, for free himself. I heard him say that he's gonna have to, he's recording himself so they can show him, you know, grabbing her off of him.
yeah, and he also mentioned he's waiting for the police. He
Yeah,
wants the
yeah,
police to come.
right.
Which,
That I heard too.
which, yeah, which if I was him, I would wait as well till the police come. That when the police are there to witness him having to get her off of him so that she cannot make any allegations of being abused, battered or anything. And it's unfortunate.
I think
It's
he did.
unfortunate.
I
Mhm.
think he did the best thing for the situation because I'm
Yes.
thinking about myself too. Like, what would I would do if I was in his shoes? And I probably would record, just start recording and just making it known that I'm not the problem here. Like I need to discriminate myself or uncriminate myself, I guess, because whatever the word is. But so that way, when they do come, they know it's not me. When she does make false allegations, they have this recording that shows it's not me.
And what was disturbing for me when I came across it was that the video in itself, I started to read the comments. And what disturbed me was that a lot of the comments, even though you can clearly see that she was the aggressor, she was the one that was refusing to let him leave the residence. He was clearly stating he wants to leave without any incident. He's wanting to take a few of his belongings with him to leave. She was refusing to let him leave. She's begging him to stay, everything possible to prevent him from leaving. What disturbed me was the comments. When I was reading the comments, you had some of the comments people were saying, referring to this man as a punk, as a pussy, saying how he must have did something to get her upset. Why can't he just sit down and have a conversation with her? Why doesn't he just give her another chance? Why is he being so mean? Why is he recording her? Why is he disclosing what happens in a relationship or an argument? Why doesn't he man up? Um, you know, give her a second chance. Obviously, she must love him. She's just showing her love for him. A woman doesn't act like this unless she loves him. She's holding him tight because she knows how much he means to her. My question is that if the roles
Really?
were reversed, yes,
That's what they
there's
get
the
from that
comments.
video?
Yes, that's what they got from the video. From the video, they were blaming the man, saying the man is being insensitive for not taking the time out to listen to this young lady, for not giving her a second chance, for not understanding how much she loves him, for not understanding that a woman will not carry on like this or make herself look, incriminating in this manner like this unless she truly loved him. That's what they were saying in the comments. In the comments, they were bashing him, saying how cruel he is for not being sensitive to her feelings, for her crying. Come on, be a man and hold her and hug her and console her. Yes. And I'm reading these comments thinking if it was the other way around and she was recording And him saying, no, I'm not letting you leave. No, sit down. Let's talk about it. No, I love you so much. Him wrapping his arms around her waist and not freeing her and holding her hostage. How would everyone view that? The comments would be saying, call the police, get him arrested. He should do this. He's assaulting her. It was crazy. I could not believe what I was reading. If the roles were reversed and he was the one preventing her from leaving, everyone would say it's 100% wrong. But in this case, she is preventing him from leaving. In the first video, you can clearly see she's not a sensitive woman. In the first video, you really saw who she really is. She threatened to call her people on him. She threatened to call the police on him. She threatened to call her father on him. She pulled his locks out of his head. And again, we don't know the entire story. We're going to go by these two clips, these two snippets that are about 2 minutes in total. And go by this, but from what we saw, even these small little moments, and again, we don't have the entire story. But from what we did see, why wouldn't she just let him leave? Why wouldn't she just say, okay, take some belongings, we'll talk another day, and let things just cool down? Why wouldn't she just let him leave? And then in this case, I want to know, I'm curious to know, do we women really act like this? Is it right? Shouldn't we be held accountable the same way men are held accountable? Because if the police would have came and there's no footage of anything, and she makes the allegation, he assaulted me, who do you think they're going to believe? Who are they going to believe? This young lady or the man? So I totally understand why he's recording. And even in the comments, they were saying he shouldn't be recording her. That's disrespectful to the relationship, disrespectful to her. He's just trying to humiliate her. Why can't he just protect himself? Why can't he protect himself? And then there was also comments saying how that's what he gets. That's what he gets for dating outside of his race. That's what she gets for dating outside of her race, where really race shouldn't really be a part of it, in my opinion, because you love who you love, regardless of the skin color. But even that was brought up. My concern is the clear double standard as to what was going on. If the roles were reversed, this man would have been in hot water. But because it's a female, she's not. That's not fair. That's just my opinion and my take from what I got from it. But you can give us yours, Kristen.
My take from it was I saw a bunch of different things in that video when I watched it, but also heard a bunch of different things too. And what struck out to me the most was the misandry that was in her tone speaking to me.
Yes.
Just the fact that also the prejudiceness too. And it's an undertone, it's a deep down prejudice, right? Because there are, I think this past few years have shown us how people or who people really are in a sense, right? Because there are people who, even for me, I worked with people from the opposite race and we may seem cool, we may talk every day, but deep down, they have some sort of ignorance or prejudiceness inside them about the opposite race. And it could be just how they were raised. And it could be how, who they had around them their entire lives, right? Because people rub off on you. But at the end of the day, it's still deep down there. And I saw that in that video. I saw her, the girlfriend, portray both of those characteristics. Misandry,
I agree.
And prejudice against the opposite race.
Yes.
For her to even have to open her mouth and say, I'm gonna call my peoples, I'm gonna call my dad. To me, it's like, your dad don't even like him, probably. Your dad don't even want you dating a black man, probably, right? So, and he knows that. And then on top of that, the state that we are in right now as a country with racism and prejudiceness and the police, and you have the audacity to open your mouth and spew that type of hate at the man that you are in the next scene begging to stay. Yes. That to me is a sign of manipulation.
Correct. I agree 100%.
It's a sign of narcissism.
Yes.
It's a sign of a toxic relationship.
Yes.
And it's a sign of mental and emotional abuse. And all those comments telling him he shouldn't be recording or just sitting down to talk to her, I'm almost certain that he's tried to talk to her a few times.
Yes. Yes, I
I'm
agree.
almost certain that he has been threatened several
Yes.
times by the
Yes.
police, by
Mm-hmm.
to threaten to call the police, threaten to call her hateful father, probably don't even like him. I'm sure he's
Yes.
had enough. So to
And
protect
that's
him and
why.
save
Mm-hmm.
his life,
Mm-hmm. I agree.
he's recording that argument with her to the
Yes.
point. So for me, dating interracial relationship means a lot of other things, right? You don't have a common ground with your partner anymore. You don't have a common ground, right? When you're dating
Mm-hmm.
someone, say for instance, like you date a, black versus black, with black person or whatever, you have a common ground. You have some sort of ties to each other, no matter what you think or say. You're tied to each other just by that alone, right? So they don't have a common ground. Then for me, in the back of my mind, I had to think about situations like this and how you would react and how you would behave in situations like this when it comes down to authority and my life, right? How would you,
Correct.
my partner, who is of an opposite race, how would you behave? How would you act?
Yeah. Well, it's clear in both of those scenes that there is an underlying tone of um, racism there, prejudice there is definitely in her family. She knew exactly what she was saying about how she doesn't call her people. You're absolutely right when she made the statement of, I'm gonna call my father, where she knows father probably doesn't like the fact that she is dating outside of her race. That's a strong possibility there. And I do
He
believe
knew
they have
too.
had,
He knew
yeah,
too.
yeah. And they've
Him
had
to have to
arguments before.
record, for him to have to pick out his phone and record.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. They've argued before where she's either threatened that before or something has already transpired where her people have probably come to him or have been in the midst of or the middle of an argument. She has done something before where this time around he's like, okay, I'm gonna record for my own safety, my own protection, because it's escalated. To me, you can clearly see for him to go to the lengths of recording them, things have escalated. And alcohol, I believe he had mentioned in the first video how you're drunk. So alcohol plays a major part in this as well too. But they do say when you drink or when you're drunk, you speak a sober man's mind, right? So she's expressing exactly how she feels, and she's probably felt like this a while and probably had it, disguised, and now it's coming
Yeah.
out.
Yes, I agree. And again, I don't know the whole situation. I don't know what happened prior to that argument or what he did before, I have no idea. But for her to even try to grab him at the end to stop him from leaving after you just threatened to call the police on him.
That's where I have a huge problem with that because no matter what he did, no matter what he does in that moment, once she grabs him, even if he tries to just remove her off of him, it can be deemed as aggressive. Him manhandling her or anything because she's smaller than him in stature. He is a little bigger than her and whatnot. So again, I can understand his fear in it. I can understand his fear and
And
why
he's
he wants to
black,
protect himself. Yes, yes,
black man with
definitely.
dreads in a
Yes,
white woman's house. Come on now.
yes, yes. He's already got what, two strikes against him, unfortunately. Him being a black man with dreads. Yes.
He's gonna
David
automatically
Carter.
be the aggressor no matter
Yeah,
what.
he's automatically the aggressor. He is automatic, and you know what? And it's sad to even say that, but the police come into that scene. You would hope and pray that they will be open minded to hear both parties. But had they come to that scene and seen her in that distressed state of crying and begging and whatnot, they're automatically going to assume he did something and hope and you have to pray that they will even take the time out to even want to look at his video or may just disregard it altogether and just look at what they see. They come to a scene, they see a Caucasian lady crying, she's distressed. they see a black gentleman there, they're automatically going to assume he did something to her. It's his fault. What did he do to her? And that's scary. I see his fear. I understand his fear. And for everyone that commented on the video saying how he's less of a man for recording her in that state and humiliating her and then posting it, what about his protection? Look at the amount of cases where Black men have had to record situations and post it to protect themselves,
See,
to stay away from even getting shot or even, look.
yes, so I agree with that. I just went to his Instagram page and found his Instagram page, girl. He trying to protect himself, not by posting what he posts on his Instagram. You know, I don't know if it's not wanting to go to jail or what it is, because he acting a fool by posting what he's posting on his Instagram. And I can see why I can see why he recorded it though, because he's probably deemed as the aggressor anyway by nature. Because his Instagram, he looked like he's an aggressor. He looked like he a hood man, a hood guy, from the hood, be around the hood. He seemed like that type of dude, that type of energy. So maybe that's why he recorded himself. Like, yeah, that's who I am, but I'm not a woman beater. I'm not gonna beat her. I'm not gonna put hands on her. I'm not gonna do that. So I see that. I can see it now.
Yeah. And also, it unfortunately there's that stereotype of black man with dreads.
Yep.
Right there, people's gonna assume and look at you as the aggressor just by your appearance.
Yep.
Just by his appearance alone. And if his Instagram does have him in what people may deem as undesirable videos, or how he may carry himself, or how he may dress, or what people consider, a little too hood or whatever, is that could be, he could be somewhere hanging out on one night. Doesn't mean he's a woman beater. Doesn't mean that at all. So I understand why, you're absolutely right. I understand why he did record it. I was just disturbed with the comments. I was just totally taken back by it. Like, wow, and again, and we're not even just talking about race. It could be any situation that has, and this one here just happened to be race, happened to be what she was saying. But any relationship, no matter what the race is, there are times where there are arguments that happen, and the women do prevent the man from leaving. What do the men do in their circumstances? Because the minute they push the woman out the way, they're wrong. The minute she throws something at him or locks the door, barricades the door, and they try to get out and a little tussle happens, what happens then? He's wrong, right? He's automatically wrong. What do?
Stay calm. Wait till she go to sleep. Pretend everything's cool, calm, and collected. When she sleep, you leave.
But should they have to go through all of that? Because if it was a woman and the shoe was on the other foot and it was a woman that's begging the man, I just want to leave. I want to leave. Can you please move yourself from the door? I just want to leave. I just want to take a few items and leave. You know what? I didn't want to take a few items. I just want to leave. And he says to her, no, 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 no. No, you're not leaving. No, you're not leaving. It's the same thing, isn't it?
Yeah, so I feel like it would be the same situation. Like you play nice,
right? But
you fall asleep and then you leave.
Yeah, I know. But
what you gonna do? You feed into that energy, it's gonna escalate, and it's gonna be.
I know, but it's just so cruel that you have to, as another human being, you have to make another human being have to feel like that. Like, you gotta.
I mean, come on.
It's the worst feeling in the world. Come on.
I'm sure they've been red flags. I'm sure they were red flags. I'm sure there were flags drawn. Okay, a few times in a, even in any relationship, to get to that point right there were red flags that was shown to you that maybe wasn't bad enough, where you just overlooked it because of good overweight the bad, whatever the case is. But there were red flags, right? So at this point, you stayed in that relationship despite all those red flags, and this is what you have to do. This is what you have to go through. So yeah, it's unfair, but at the end of the day, no human is the same, and no human's gonna be the same, right? So you just have to, in any situation you're going to be in, no situation is going to be the same either. You have to play your role in that situation until you're safe, until you're back.
I know that even with dating, and I agree with you. I mean, dating, interracial dating in itself, I think sometimes comes with these challenges or even miscommunications.
Mm-hmm.
That's right off the bat. Um, because as much as you may try to remove color out of the equation, color will always linger around. Um, when I was dating a friend of mine's at one point in the very beginning of getting to know the individual, we had, I want to say, at least might have been about 3 to 4 months of miscommunication where we would have conversations and I might say something like, I don't agree with what you said, or my opinion is this, or anything that went opposite to what he was saying. Um, he used to make statements like, how was his statements? He used to make statements that implied that I'm upset or implied that I'm angry, right? And I remember in the very beginning having to constantly say to him, because I disagree with what you're saying, does not mean I'm upset. Two people could have two different opinions about something or look at different things in different ways. It's okay to disagree. And I remember, like in the very beginning stages, like the first 3 to 4 months, that we would have different conversations of different various topics. And I would give my opinion how I see something. He would give his opinion. And every single time my opinion was different to his, he will always interpret it, whereas I'm upset or I'm angry. Or and I used to always and I felt like I had to keep on defending myself. And I was trying to figure out, is it because I'm black and he's white? Is it because he may not be understanding because the race difference, culture difference? I didn't know what it was, but it was like the very first 3 to 4 months, I remember feeling stressed. I remember feeling stressed briefly where I was like, okay, you know what? Don't take it personally. But I had to tell him at least like 5 to 6 times where I was like, you know what? This is just too much work. Every time we had a conversation, if I disagreed, he always would make a statement like, okay, I'm sorry for getting you upset. Or I'm sorry. It was like, and here I am saying, what are you talking about? We're not having an argument. We're having a debate, a discussion. We're having a conversation. I may not agree with what you're saying because of ABCD, or this is the reasons why I don't agree. You have your viewpoint, I have my viewpoint, but it's okay to have different viewpoints. He's to always interpret every single time I would say no to something or don't agree with what he's saying, that I was angry or was upset. And each time he did it, I felt like, okay, he's categorizing me as that angry black woman, or um, we would have conversations and he would say things like, I know I know I'm the best. No, I know you've probably never met a guy like me before. Or I know you probably dated various guys, but I know you never met a honest one like me. And I used to always feel that he would make those statements comparing himself to black men, like to say, I know you probably dealt with some rough black guys, but you're dealing with a white guy now. No, not to say he thought he was better than black people, but he used to give me that impression of some of these statements he used to say. And he used to rub me the wrong way. He used to rub me the wrong way. It was difficult for me in the very beginning. It was very difficult. So I understand how, you know, interracial dating, how it can have its ups and downs or a lot of misunderstandings. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's difficult. I would say it's difficult. It's definitely, I found it a little difficult, whereas I had to constantly keep explaining myself.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you feel like you're constantly explaining yourself, that's
Yeah.
how it felt for me.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I get it. I see that.
yeah. It was definitely, and even when it came to the prejudgments, like I used to always feel like a prejudgment there when
Mm-hmm.
statements would be made to me like, "I know you've never dated anybody like me before," as if to say prior people I may have dated,
Mm-hmm.
you know, is less or beneath him type thing. That was like the impression, like a undertone I used to kind of feel. And
Mm-hmm.
I would say, well, what do you mean by that? What do you mean by that? I don't
Right.
understand.
Right.
Like, I'm not understanding, what do you mean by that? You
Mhm.
know, because I've dated some really great guys. I've dated some really great guys. I've dated some really well-mannered guys, well-to-do guys. You know, I have. So
Mhm.
I couldn't understand where that was coming from.
Mhm.
Um, and I didn't want to come out and say it's because of skin color, but that was definitely the feeling I was getting. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So when I see interracial couples, I was always think to myself, I wonder if they went through like a rough patch in the beginning, trying to understand each other,
Mhm.
understand each other's language, even how we may talk to one another. You know, not to take offense. Like, is there a fine line when you talk or crack jokes? You know, little things like that. But I know for myself, yeah, the first several months, it was definitely an adjustment and having to get to know where I don't want to say race played a part where I felt uncomfortable or anything like that, where it's a difference between me being black and him being white. But there were certain situations where I felt like I had to continuously explain some of the things of how I felt or why I felt a certain way or why I disagree with something. It
Mhm.
would be like a conversation. Yeah, like I had to stand my ground and have conversations about certain topics. And yeah, that's when I would feel uncomfortable. So
Yeah.
I get it. Yeah, I get it. I definitely get it. But it's in this day and age, it's scary. In this day and age, you know, sometimes I feel, even some of the comments, you know, which I also felt was unfair. People were saying to the young man, "That's what you get for dating out your race and whatnot." I don't think that's called for either.
I mean, it goes back to always having the conversations, man. You have to talk about it and be real. You know, like
Mm-hmm.
even Cameron and what's her name? I forgot her name, but from that show on Netflix, that Love Is Blind show or whatever it
Mm-hmm.
is. You know,
Mm-hmm.
when they finally met in person, she was straight up real. She was just like, I did not expect him to be white. And my dad's gonna be a little iffy because he's white, and we have to have this conversation because how's he gonna relate to me? Is he gonna understand my needs, my feelings, like who I am? Like all those things are important factors in a relationship. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
yeah, and it's different.
So
Yes, I agree 100%. You're absolutely right. You're spot on with that 100%. And I believe you have, when it comes to interracial dating, you have to understand each person's needs and love language and not look at it where it's like a race, you know?
well, yeah, I think any relationship needs that anyway, but I think it's especially difficult for interracial relationships. And
Mm,
it should be a conversation, factor in the very beginning stages. Early
yeah,
on, you should have that
it
conversation. Like,
is.
where do you stand? What
Yeah,
side
I
are
have,
you
yes.
on? What are you willing to fight? Because if you're gonna be in a relationship with somebody who's African American, and especially going on in this race right now, or if you're dating someone who's Hispanic, I mean, what's going on with them right now? And
Yeah.
and their racial war that they're dealing with right now. Are you gonna stand there and fight? Are you gonna be by their side?
Mm-hmm.
Where do you
Mm-hmm.
that those are conversations, man, specifically y'all should have. And I didn't feel like this couple here, I don't
They
believe
didn't have that
had that
conversation.
conversation.
They didn't. They didn't have that conversation. Even when I was in the early stages of dating this gentleman, you know, we had conversations about race, and it was conversations that we had to have because I started to notice a pattern. Like I started to notice a pattern um, of a certain behavior that I didn't like, but I didn't feel it was intentional. I didn't believe the behavior was intentional, but I did believe there was a repeated behavior of a constant conversations where it ended up me having to explain the difference between black and white, or listen, because I'm a black woman does not mean blah blah blah, or because I'm a black woman and I may say to you, no, I don't agree with this, because doesn't mean me being passionate about something I believe in does not make me angry, it does not make me aggressive. So I had to have that conversation, whereas there are some topics that I am 100% all in, that I have a position and I won't sway no matter what. And we had conversations prior, where I had to explain to him several times. Like I said earlier, I had to explain to him several times. Listen, if I'm passionate about something and I like something and I'm passionate about it and I believe in something, does not make my passion aggressive, does not make my passion to be looked at as an angry Black woman. It doesn't. And it doesn't mean if I'm disagreeing with you, it's okay to disagree. I remember at the very beginning, there's conversations many times where it came to a point where I actually had walked away. I was like, you know what, this is way too much work. Um, Trying to get to know somebody that's new that I did like, but having to also continue to explain that I'm Black. And by being a Black woman does not mean blah, blah, blah. And stop, there's this misconception of this whole, which I do hate the expression angry Black woman. I had to keep on telling him and talking to him about having conversations. I even telling him about having conversations about that, where, it's at one point I actually just stopped. I just removed myself from him because I was like, hold on, we're having way too many conversations about, you know, this whole Blackness or the Black woman. And it was too many conversations. Yeah, it was difficult. And even to today, we're still occasional friends here and there, but again, there's sometimes you can tell there's a elephant, not an elephant, and I wouldn't say an elephant in the room, but there's definitely miscommunication there, misunderstandings. Yeah, definitely misunderstandings.
Yeah. I can definitely see it too because I did it outside my race, and I'm okay. I get it. Like dating outside your
Mhm.
race, perfectly fine. But I just still feel like people should have that conversation.
Yes, I
Like
agree.
even when I did outside my race, I didn't have that conversation. I
Mhm.
didn't. That's probably why they didn't work out,
Yeah.
or they weren't gonna work out anyway, right? But so I wasted my time. But I should have had those conversations and lesson learned, man.
Right. And even for me, I didn't see, and I don't know if I was blown, I don't know if I was just new to it, but when
And
I
that play a
did,
part. That does play a part. You're new.
I was new into it and I was like, okay, I'm interested in this young man. I do know he is white, is of the opposite race. I'd even consider it a matter of even race, when I met him and we talked, I'm like, oh, okay, I find him attractive. I find him, he's cute. Let me get to know him and whatnot. Race was never even an issue. So I want to say the first month in, getting to know him and whatnot, everything was great. And then as time went on and we started talking about other topics and spending time together and whatnot, when I found us having conversations about topics that, I had to keep defending, the Black
Right. So
woman.
you never felt or questioned or even thought like, oh, this is cute for a white guy,
I'm telling you, see,
um, or
I've
I
dated,
wonder
I've,
if,
mhm.
like I wonder if he could do that. You never, nothing crossed your mind because he was of the opposite race.
You know what? Let me tell you what crossed my mind.
Mm-hmm.
When him and I were actually seeing each other for over 3 years. And I mentioned him earlier in an earlier podcast. Just this year here, I kind of walked away from it. But nevertheless, um, no, when I met him, um, I was like, oh, he's attractive. I've dated Caucasian white guys before.
Mm-hmm.
So when I met him, I said, oh, he's attractive. What attracted me to him even more was that when we did talk and had conversations, we had conversations in great lengths about a variety of topics, and I never felt judged. So that's what attracted me to him even more, was the fact of being able to have honest, raw conversations and be fully transparent, not feeling judged, was a comfort for me. Because most times when I date my same race, um, there are the conversations, either lack of conversation or the direction of the conversation is not getting in a direction that I warrant or I like. So I end up just removing myself from the individual. So what attracted me to him was the transparency of the conversations. The only thing that crossed my mind throughout dating him for that 3+ years was we never had a title. Neither one of us was looking for a title. But in back of my mind, I used to always wonder, and he never gave me a reason, but I knew he had dated other Black women prior to me. And I remember asking him one day, how come you're not married? How come you've never been engaged? And a couple of women prior to me, he said no, he just wouldn't. And he was not even interested in them in a relationship. And for a moment there, I thought to myself, is it because they're Black, where Black women are good enough for you to date, bed, but not marry? That thought crossed my mind, having told me how he's attracted to Black women, has dated numerous Black women, but throughout his course of dating and being with Black women, he had never been engaged to any of them, even had any children prior, or even had been married to them. Made me wonder, are they good enough just for you to bed and date, but not to call your wife? I
Okay,
just thought,
gotcha.
huh?
Yeah. So yeah, gotcha. Understood.
That popped into my mind where,
Fair enough.
wow, you're in your late 40s and you're attracted to Black women. You like being intimate with Black women, but you're not ready to commit and call a Black woman your woman.
Yeah, it's almost like, you know, you like Black women, but it's like a
Correct.
fetish to you. You know,
Right. And I got that impression at some point. I mean, I wouldn't say in the beginning, but throughout the dating part, again, being with him, and again, we were just friends for a while. That part, it crossed my mind. I was like, well, you know what? This guy's in his late 40s, um, has been with several, women of the opposite race, Black women, and you've told me that's your preference. You love dating Black women, you love being with Black women. Um, but I've never heard you say how you've actually given any Black woman a title. You've never claimed any of them. You never claimed one as your woman. You never claimed one to say that I want to live with this woman, or this is my girl. You've never claimed one. So would you not claim one because she's Black, or is it because she's Black you're not giving one a title, or is it, so it that and maybe he had at some point,
mhm.
but that thought is across my mind. Whereas, well, how come none of them's your girlfriend? Yeah.
When one of the relationships I had, I dated this white guy, and the thought that crossed my mind is, when he told me, he was like, "Yeah, I only date Black or Spanish women. I don't like any other race or whatever." I was like, "Okay." He's like, "Yeah." So, because I asked, I was like, like, "You dated a Black girl before?" And he was like, "Yeah, all the time, Black or Spanish. That's what I like." So I was like, "Okay, that's your preference, okay." And he was like, "Yeah." But what ran across my mind was like, is it a fetish?
Yeah.
Like, what about Black women and Spanish women that entices you? You know?
Mm-hmm.
And
Exactly.
I asked that question too. And he was like, that have bigger assets, bigger
Mm-hmm.
butts, bigger breasts, that have they're more curvy. I like curves, I like booty.
Mm-hmm.
So he said,
Wow. And I get it. I get it. Because even the guy
I
I
get
was
it too,
dating,
girl,
no, I get it. I get it, and it's
but
like, it's strange though. I mean, listen,
yeah,
color doesn't mean anything to me. The individual is what matters for me.
right. Same here.
Right. I just know that in that experience,
Mm-hmm.
I found there were more conversations it was more conversations that I had to have that I didn't think was necessary, or that I probably was not prepared for.
Yeah.
And maybe again it was unfamiliar territory,
Mm-hmm.
even though I had dated, Caucasian guys, white guys prior,
Mm-hmm.
but I never gave it, and I never thought of race in it. I never did. It was only with this guy that I started thinking race.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
What if
because it was obvious. It was obvious. It's not like it, you know what I'm saying? Either one of you could hide it. It's obvious that he's white and you are Black. It is clear as day. So it's a conversation that it's okay to have. It's those that are okay to have. But you just
right?
have to have those conversations. You got to speak on it.
And when
But
I did speak on it, he will always pretend as if I'm overreacting. Like if I did speak on it or say something like, listen, just because I'm Black and I disagree with something does not mean I'm being angry. It does not mean I'm mad. It just means I just disagree with what you're saying. That's all it is. It's just me disagreeing with what you're saying. You don't have to apologize. I'm not upset. I'm not angry. I'm not going to stop speaking to you. I just disagree with what you're saying. And okay, it's just a disagreement. I kept having to say that like
Yeah,
over and over and over. And that's when I was like, are you comfortable with me being Black?
because he
Is
wasn't listening
Black
to
an
you.
issue? Huh?
Yeah, he definitely wasn't listening to you.
Right. He was not listening to me because in the very beginning, we continued having that conversation. I'm
Yeah,
like, listen, if you and I disagree, I'm not going to cut you off. We're just having a conversation. And it's okay to say, I don't agree with that. It's like me saying, I don't like jeans. I prefer sweatpants. It's okay to say that.
yeah,
It doesn't mean I'm an angry Black woman or, oh my God, I'm going to go off my rocket or I'm going to snap or curse you out. Like he used to always give me the impression that he had these views or these opinions of how, or maybe it could be prior relationships he had been in with prior Black women.
mhm,
Maybe some of these behaviors may have happened. I don't know. And again, if that's the case, you have to treat every individual as individual people. They're not the same.
right.
But in the beginning, I had to keep on saying to him, I'm not upset. I'm just disagreeing with you. I'm not upset. I'm not
Yeah,
angry.
yeah,
And then eventually it took a toll on where I'm like, okay, I keep having to do the exact same thing,
yeah,
explain it myself, curving what I'm saying, being careful how I talk, being careful he doesn't misinterpret what I say or do to be something more. Yeah. So
yeah.
in the very beginning, I had to step away for a bit. I had to kind of step away from it for a bit because it was just way too challenging for me. It was
Mhm.
like too much work that didn't make sense to have so much work if you're just getting to know somebody.
Yeah,
Like, okay, what's happening here? Right. And then I had to kind of readjust, take a step back, decide if I wanted something to pursue because it was like getting kind of, it's like I had to work too much for it now. It was like too much working. Yeah. And then
yeah.
I said, okay, then a few months later, I said, okay, I'll try it again. Yeah.
Mhm.
But this
No,
was interesting.
absolutely. Play that audio for them one more time before we close it out.
Sure, absolutely. I'm gonna play it right now. So there is two parts to it, and I will play part one. Here we go right now.
No, you're not finna get shit. Like, on my soul, on my daughter, you're not finna get shit. You can be drunk here all you want to. Okay, I'm finna be real drunk here when my people beat your ass in a second. I'm fine with that. I'm fine with that. Police gonna beat your ass, or my people gonna beat your ass. Okay. Because I'll call the police. I know you'll call the police. That's what you want me to do. No, that's what you always wanted to do. That's why I don't need to be with you. That's what you want me to do. Okay. No, I don't want you to do that. Call my people. You told me to call my dad. You told me to call all these people. Yeah, go ahead. I said go ahead and get your money so I can go. That's what you told me. I said all you gotta do is get your money so I can go. You told me to do. Okay, whatever. You want me to do what you told me to do? All right, whatever. You don't want to record when you beating people ass too, but you want to. Bro, you just hit me right here. Man, come on, man. You ripped my fucking dreads out, and I still got them dreads. I ripped your dreads out? No, I got my.
So that was the first one, and this is the second one.
All I'm trying to do is go out the door. Y'all see this on camera? I'm trying to leave out the door, get away from the situation, and make things better for me. But I can't seem to go. So when the police get here, you will see, because I'm gonna have to remove her from me physically. Trying to be polite and just walk out and have a great day, but she won't get off me. Can you please get off me? I'm asking her twice. I'm asking you to sit down. Can you please get off of me? Okay, I'm asking you to sit down. Can you please get off of me? Gary, please don't put your hands. I'm begging you, please sit down, Gary. Please don't leave me. Please. You see this, right? Gary, you see this? I'm trying to go. Please. I'm trying to go. Look at me. I don't want to be with you. I will give you whatever. I don't want nothing from you. I want to be away from you. I want my freedom from you.
Yeah, that's both videos.
So we're gonna share both videos on our Instagram page. So check us out at Straight Talk No _ BS and leave a comment. Let us know your opinion, what you think, what would you have done, or if you were ever in a similar situation.
Thank you for listening.
Peace. Don't forget to check out our other videos on our YouTube page and follow us on our social platforms. That's on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. We talk about a lot of stuff on there all the time. So we want to hear from our listeners. Like, share, comment, and subscribe. And we'll see you guys right here, same time, same place next week.